everybody, this is Amy from Château de Rosieres, and I recorded the start of this video in the back garden and then got chased by a young peacock who showed an unnatural interest in my selfie stick, and literally Pepper and I have just been running round and round and round to try and get away from him because he has a tendency to attack people at this time of year. So I thought I'd start again. I snuck into the back of the chateau and then out the front, and he hasn't yet worked out where I am. Mind you, neither's Pepper. So I'm going to tell you now what's going on. Thank you to everybody who joined us last week when we launched our new channel, The Lost Gardens of Château de Rosieres. And as we explained to you in the video last week, we are completely focused on being self-sufficient, environmentally responsible, and making the chateau run itself for free in the manner of the old estates. And part of that, well, the major part of that, is the running of the estate itself, 130 acres, mostly forest at the moment, and we want to make it biodiverse, productively diverse, and stunningly beautiful. So this is a huge project and something Marc is completely passionate about, but we realise that not everyone who's interested in these old buildings is also interested in that. So we're splitting the channels. That one will be very much focused on the rebuilding of this estate that was derelict for possibly even centuries, bringing it back to life in the form of formal gardens, the becoming self-sufficient for water and all sorts of other things. It will focus on management of the forests, building up crops, building the farm, rare breed animals, all sorts of things that we both absolutely love, but Marc is obviously completely passionate about. And then this channel, which has reverted to its old name because we loved the old name and only changed it because we thought we had to be more business minded, and now we've just thought, well, whatever, we're going to do what we want now. So it's back to being the Chronicles of Rosieres. I just shoved Chateau in there as well. This one will be as business as usual, focused on us, our restoration, what it's like to live in a medieval chateau, especially one that's in the middle of being restored, and life in this part of France, in the deep countryside of Ardèche. The main focus of our work for the past few years, and especially in the last year or so, has been the coach house, which is just over my shoulder. I'm sitting on the front doorstep over there. It's the Chateau's old coach house, as we believe, and it's going to be done up as part of our work towards being a retreat centre in the future. But in the meantime, since we've had two little kiddies since that project started, and since little kiddies and big works in the main chateau don't mix well, we've decided to move into there so that we can have them in there and live a normal, vaguely normal life as well, rather than trying to exist in a medieval chateau with toddlers, which can be challenging at times. I'm imagining about a year, and then we can really crack on with the heavy, dusty, dirty work in the main chateau. And that is going to be so interesting for you guys to see. I mean, the things we've got to uncover, the things we have to tell you about, these lost cellars and tunnels that we know are there, the hidden staircases. There are voids on the plans of things we have no idea what's behind them. We want to try and uncover if there are old 17th and 18th century features hidden behind some of the more modern additions. It's just going to be like Time Team, archaeological excavation coupled with the biggest ever DIY project. So that is going to be fascinating. But in the meantime, you get to follow us doing the coach house over there. And I think this is quite interesting because it's a testing station for us with a lot of techniques. You know, we're really interested in historical restoration. We've won a national award for our approach to the historically respectful restoration of these buildings. And we also want to try and do things naturally and locally. So we've used our own wood in the rebuilding of the floors and ceilings in there. We're trying to use natural pigments in the plaster work. We use our own stone off the estate to repair things. And the big project I'm working on at the moment, as you all know if you've followed us over the last 10 to 15 episodes, has been making my own tiles. And I had hoped to be showing you this week me working on the mould that you saw me do the week before last. I want to be doing the clay in there and setting them to dry, because they have to dry very, very slowly, because I can't sandwich them between boards because they'll have a relief on the mould, unlike the previous ones which were dug in. The big problem we have at the moment is that that's another building, and so when we have children around and they're in the main building, I can't work down there. And this week the children have been germ factories again. The poor little mites have been so ill. It's just because one goes to childcare and one goes to school, so they just bring everything that's going around the village. And they've been really unwell, and this morning was my first day when they were both going to be occupied elsewhere for ages. I had so much planned to do, including the tile work, and then just as I was about to take them out the door, Clement vomited all over the kitchen floor. So he's with me today, and he's currently in bed, but he's in bed in the chateau, so I can't go down there. And so instead I am talking at you as now, and for those of you who are still with me after this amount of talking, I'm going to show you around a few of the more everyday things that happen here, because I know that what you see of any of us who are doing YouTube channels, what you see is 20 minutes out of a 7-day week. The reality is that a lot of our week is spent doing tax returns or managing the kids or doing the ironing or cleaning or managing a million different jobs. Like you saw the one when I showed you the kitchen with the with the flooding floor and the dishwasher not working. The latest thing is the light switch electrocutes you when you turn it on and off. So that's joyful when I forget I'm not supposed to do it. So it's again all these little things. Oh yeah, and we've got these chicks we hatched. That's in a whole other story, and I'm trying to, between us, Marc and I, trying to restore, rebuild an old rabbit hutch run so they can be in it, so they don't get killed by the many hawks that fly around here, because they're getting big now and they can't be in their little cage. So just little things like that. So I'm just going to take you and show you a few things. I apologise, this is not a riveting episode for anyone who really wants to see us cracking on with a big task, but it's going to show you some of the reality. For those of you wondering how we're getting on with the sewage, well, Marc finally made contact with the guy who's supposed to be coming with the machines, and he said, yeah, I'm coming, I'll come next week and just check around and see what we need to do. And then he never turned up. So we've got a link to another person who might have the kind of equipment we need, which is basically large machines that can go to the quarry, bring the stone here and drive it straight down the slope, rather than us having to do any form of shoveling several tons of stone, because that's just not going to happen. What other news? Vomiting children, waiting for tractors. That's the major preoccupation at the moment. Oh no, I've got a little task I'm going to go and do. It's thrillingly interesting. Stay with me. I don't know if you can hear that, not the peacock, but the little, oh there you go, did you see the little bird come out of that box? You may remember maybe more than 2 years ago on the channel we filmed Mark putting these bird boxes up, and this year the blue tits are in there and their little babies are screaming all day long. Leave me alone. Go on. He's found me again. He's just following me. I don't know if he's going to attack me any second. Come, Peppa! Ages ago there was, I did a Patreon video about the delivery of this massive load of wood. These are our own trees, and they were, we needed to do a cut to manage a certain area of forest. And so because it was more efficient that way, we had the whole lot transported to the local sawmill, and then we asked them to cut in a variety of sizes. Some were planned for buildings we've already got plans for, some was just, you know, what's a useful size. And they were being stored at the sawmill, but then they needed the space, and so they said we've got to deliver them. And we had a rather frantic time just after Marc has broken his ribs, trying to clear the space by our car park to store them. And we also wanted to cover them so they didn't get too wet in the rain, and it's very rainy at the moment. But in the wind, we've had incredible winds this week. The tarpaulin has come off. In fact, it may have come off in a previous windy episode, but it's particularly badly come off now, and so Mark's just been too busy to do anything about it, so I'm going to attempt to secure it. And tarpaulin's not quite big enough, but as long as we can get it to cover most of it, I think we'll be all right. Also, just for note, this behind is the end of the 19th century greenhouse that Marc bought and dismantled from another building. You'll have seen it on Instagram for sure, and I think we've spoken about it on this channel before. Over on the Lost Gardens of Château de Rosieres, one of the big projects this year is going to be starting the foundations for this. It's going to be a huge restored 19th century greenhouse, which will be heated with our wood chip heating system, so that Marc can, only slightly heated, but so that Marc can grow hothouse plants in it. And it's going to be stunning. It's got a spiral staircase and a gallery across the top. So that's one of the things that you'll be able to see over on the Lost Gardens of Château de Rosieres. But for now, it's just me, my lack of proper footwear because I can't find my shoes, and this pile of wood wrestling a tarpaulin. And I've got a selfie stick to ward off the peacock. When there's no stepping stones left. Right, so you may see that I have accomplished my task in theory, but that it looks like a sailing boat about to set off to sea. And I think I've got some ideas for how to weight it down better, because before we just put some heavy planks on the top, but I think with the size of this tarpaulin, it just catapults them off. I just need to go and find some string first. Half the problem I have here is finding anything to do the work. It's a partly an issue of slightly chaotic organisation, naming no names, but it's also a problem of us not really having anywhere to keep tools and stuff properly and equipment. We managed to grab Marc briefly and find out where the string is, and obviously it was in the cellar. He said it's in the cellar because you used it to pull the pipes up to the top floor, which was a whole other story as well. So these pipes, we pulled up an old chimney right to the top of the chateau, and sure enough, there's the ball of string. I know it can be quite difficult to situate yourselves at ours, and so the car park and where the boards are being kept is just behind that wall. So those of you familiar with our channel will know I'm terrified of heights, so that was actually quite high. And I think what I need to do is to get some to put the string on the eye holes along this side and then hang them over this wall with weights on them, and that's probably the only way we're going to stop it from flying away, and also it will stop the tarpaulin rubbing on the sharp points. I had some cunning plan to do cardboard on the edges, but that's literally just way too much work when I have so much else on. Hello!
Hello.
So,
What are you doing up here?
I've got a cunning plan to keep the tarpaulin on. I'm going to put... Is this solid, this wall?
You can test and you tell me.
I'm going to put string on some of the eyelets on this side, and then hang it over the edge and tie it around rocks so that it hangs down, or large pieces of wood. It was a brilliant idea that came to me when I had a cup of coffee.
That's a cunning plan. You should drink more coffee.
Come and... I don't normally drink coffee, do I? I don't even know if anyone can hear me talking from here.
I can hear you, but I'm not sure they can.
So I've secured all of my side here, and I know this isn't the side that tends to catch the wind, but it's the side that pulls off when the other side catches the wind. So I'm hoping that my cunning design will stop that from happening. I did step on an ant's nest at one point, and I think I've got quite a lot of ants running up my trouser leg right now, so I might have to go and deal with that, and also the fact that I think I can hear Clement through the window. So toodle pip for now. I don't know if you can hear this. I opened the window because I could hear foxes calling, and I was just a bit concerned about the chickens. But actually they were running into the forest, and all I can hear now is the nightingales. And some sort of tractor in the background. And the frogs. And a peacock. Let's all go here tonight.